Welcome to Enlighten Wisdom, beloved souls. The loudest laughter often comes from the most terrified mouths. They mocked you, ridiculed your visions, and dismissed your truth. But now, silence grips them. The arrogance that once shielded their illusions has shattered. The truth they rejected has struck them with a force they cannot escape. They thought they had time. They thought their delusions would hold. But truth does not bend. It steamrolls everything in its path. You saw the cracks before they widened, felt the shift long before they noticed the ground trembling. For that, they called you insane. But their laughter was never proof of your foolishness. It was proof of their fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of what they couldn't control. Fear of you, because you walk with a knowing they can never grasp. And now, that fear is consuming them whole. Their illusion has collapsed, while you, the chosen one, stand unshaken. If this message speaks to you like this video, subscribe and comment. The slap of truth just crushed them. This is more than a message, it's a movement. When you engage, you send a signal, a ripple, a force that spreads truth to those who need it most. For too long they smirked, puffed up with false certainty, patting themselves on the back for dismissing you. But now, reality has struck like a wrecking ball, and they are left gasping, scrambling for something, anything to make sense of what's happening. They thought they had the upper hand. They thought wrong. Your presence haunts them. The way you move, the way you speak, the way you carry something untamed, it unsettles them. They can feel it. You were never like them, and that terrifies them. They cannot trick you. They cannot control you. And now, they know that. Their silence is not respect. It is fear. They avoid your gaze, whispering in hushed tones, scrambling to rewrite history. But you remember. Every insult, every eye roll, every attempt to break you. And now that memory stands as your victory. You weren't chosen to be liked. You were chosen to see, to stand firm while the world shakes, to be the force that does not bow. They feared you then. They fear you even more now. The storm they swore would never come is here. And the one they mocked for seeing it? That one is still standing. Thank you, chosen one. Whether you're new here or have stood as a warrior on this journey, your presence is shaking the very foundation of deception. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to rise. If you're ready to step fully into your power, smash that like button, subscribe, and comment 88 as a signal to those still trapped in the lie. Because when the chosen rise, the blind tremble. Now let's begin. Number 1. Reality just hit them and there's no escape. The comfort of their illusions has crumbled beneath them. They walked with smug grins, convinced their ignorance was a shield. They mocked you, dismissed your insight, and ridiculed your warnings. But now that laughter has died in their throats. The truth they fought so hard to deny has struck them with a force they cannot ignore, leaving them shaken and exposed. You saw it coming. You always do. You felt the shift before the first crack appeared, spoke of the storm before the first drop fell. They laughed, not because you were wrong, but because deep down, they feared you might be right. Their mockery was never confidence, it was desperation, a last refuge for those too afraid to face reality. But now, that fear has swallowed them whole. Look at them now, scrambling for explanations, tripping over their own arrogance. Every warning they ignored, every truth they mocked is unraveling before their eyes, and they can't stop it. This is history repeating itself. The ones who see beyond the surface are always ridiculed before they are revered. Tesla, Galileo, Einstein, and now, you. They fought so hard to silence you, not because they thought you were wrong, but because accepting your truth would mean admitting their entire world was built on a lie. Weak minds would rather cling to deception than face the pain of being wrong, but reality does not wait for their comfort. It has dragged them, trembling, into the truth they tried to escape. They thought ignoring you would make the truth disappear. They thought their numbers made them strong, but numbers mean nothing when you're all wrong. They thought laughter had power, that calling you crazy would break you. But words do not shake the unshakable, and now they are the ones who have been broken. You feel it, don't you? That shift in the air. The unmistakable moment when the tables have turned. The same ones who mocked you now whisper among themselves, glancing nervously at the truth they can no longer deny. The weight of reality has crushed them. They long to return to their illusion, to a world where they were in control. But there is no going back. The illusion is gone. And you? You stand untouched, unshaken, unbothered. While they were laughing, you were preparing. While they sneered, you sharpened your mind, your soul, your purpose. Now, as they tremble in fear, you remain firm, watching as everything built on deception crumbles at their feet. This is only the beginning. Their world is collapsing, their illusions are burning, and their pride is choking them. They can't run, they can't laugh it away. They can't hide from what they refuse to believe. Reality has arrived, and it has struck them with the force of everything they swore would never happen. Now they know. Number 2. They mocked you to feel safe, but now they tremble. Their laughter was never confidence. It was fear in disguise. They called you delusional, paranoid, a fool, dismissing you with arrogance because the truth you carried was too terrifying for them to accept. If you were right, their entire world was a lie. And now, that lie has collapsed. Reality has struck them hard, leaving them frozen, their minds unraveling as they struggle to make sense of what they once refused to see. They believed ignorance was a shield, but ignorance is a coffin, and now they are trapped inside it. The very truth they mocked is the only thing that could have saved them, and that realization is swallowing them whole. Look at them now, scrambling, desperate, clinging to the fragments of their shattered illusion. Their smirks have vanished, their arrogance turned to panic. They thought laughing at you could make the truth disappear, but truth does not need their belief to exist. It never did. Weak minds do not reject truth because it lacks evidence. They reject it because accepting it would require change. They mocked you not because you were wrong, but because deep down they feared you were right. Their attacks were never about you, they were about protecting their own fragile illusions. They turned you into a joke so they wouldn't have to question themselves. But now they can't laugh this away anymore. The truth stands before them, unshakable, unstoppable, undeniable. You endured their ridicule, held the line while they sneered, and now, as they struggle to process reality, you don't need to say a word. Your silence is louder than their laughter ever was. This pattern has played out through history. The ones who see first are always mocked until time proves them right. Tesla, Galileo, Einstein, and now, you. But don't expect apologies. They will pretend they always knew, rewrite history in their minds and convince themselves they were never against you. But you remember. Every insult, every eye roll, every attempt to tear you down. Their silence is not respect, it is fear. Their avoidance is not shame, it is desperation. They are scrambling for a way out, but there is no exit. And you? You owe them nothing. No explanations, no reassurances, not a single moment of your energy. You gave them a chance to listen. They spat in your face instead. Now their regret is not your burden to carry. Let them sit in the wreckage of their own ignorance. Let them tremble under the weight of their own arrogance, because the battle is over, and you won. Number 3. The weak laugh the loudest until the first crack forms. Then their laughter turns to panic. They paraded their arrogance, sneering from their fragile throne of ignorance, believing that as long as they mocked you together, they were safe. Your warnings were a joke to them, your insight reduced to a punchline. But they laughed to silence you, to drown out the truth they feared. Then the cracks appeared. Their laughter grew uneasy, their sneers wavered. They could feel it, the shift, the tremor of collapse creeping toward them. And then it hit. The very truth they mocked now stands before them, unwavering. The storm they swore would never come is raging, tearing apart their illusions. They thought ignorance was a weapon, that numbers made them strong. But numbers mean nothing when every single one of them is wrong. Look at them now, drowning, clawing for explanations, scrambling for a way out. But there is no escape. The walls of their denial have crumbled and everything built on lies has collapsed beneath them. The silence where their laughter used to be, the choking where their insults once flew so freely, that is the sound of fear setting in. They know now. They mocked the wrong person. They dismissed the wrong warnings. They chose to laugh instead of listen, and now they are paying the price. History repeats itself. The ones who see first are always ridiculed until time proves them right. Joan of Arc was mocked before she led armies. Galileo was ridiculed before science admitted he was right. Harriet Tubman was called insane before her vision freed hundreds. The world always mocks what it fears because admitting you were right means facing the unbearable truth that they were wrong. And that they cannot handle. So they sneered, smirked, and rolled their eyes until reality crushed every word they ever spat at you. Truth does not whisper. It roars. And you? You were never blind. You felt the shift before they even realized they were standing on unstable ground. You warned them not for their approval but because you knew what was coming. And now as they scramble, as they rewrite history, as they avoid your gaze, you stand untouched. They know. And worse, they know that you know. That's why they can't look you in the eye. That's why their silence is deafening. But you remember. Every word, every smirk, every time they laughed while you carried the weight of knowing alone. Now that weight is on them, and it is crushing them. Let them tremble, let them panic, let them wrestle with their regret. It is not your burden to carry anymore. You have already stepped into the truth. You have already won. Number 4. Every word you spoke just slapped them back into reality. A lie can dance for a while, but when truth arrives, the music stops. They smirked, rolled their eyes, and scoffed at you, pretending your words were nonsense. But deep down, they needed you to be wrong. Because if you were right, their entire reality was a lie. Now that lie has shattered, leaving them frozen, staring at the sinking ground beneath them. The very words they mocked now echo in their minds like a drumbeat they can't escape. Every warning they ignored has become prophecy fulfilled. Every time they dismissed you as crazy, they were only proving their own blindness. The arrogance they once carried is gone, replaced with fear, confusion, and regret. They thought your words were just noise. Now those same words haunt them, undeniable and inescapable. History repeats itself. The visionaries, the prophets, the ones who saw ahead, they were always ridiculed before they were proven right. Tesla, Tubman, Galileo, all dismissed until the world could no longer deny them. The laughter always turns to whispers, then silence, then awe. And now, they are stuck in that moment between disbelief and realization, arrogance and shame. You don't need to say, "I told you so." Your silence is enough. The same people who mocked you now sit wide-eyed, speechless, unable to process what has happened. Some will pretend they always knew, twisting their words to avoid admitting they doubted you. But you remember. And so do they. No matter how hard they try to rewrite history, the truth is tattooed in their memories. They can't erase what they said, they can't undo how they treated you, and worst of all, they can't deny that you saw what they refused to see. Now they must sit in their own regret. But you've already moved forward. You never needed their validation because the truth was always on your side. Number 5. The lies they clung to have collapsed like a house of cards. Denial is a fragile illusion, beautiful until the first stone of truth shatters it beyond repair. They stacked their world with arrogance, glued it together with ignorance, and decorated it with laughter, believing it made them strong. But numbers don't protect the blind when they march straight off a cliff. Reality does not care how many believe the lie, it crushes them all the same, and now their empire of deception has turned to dust, and they are choking on the wreckage. Everything they swore was impossible now stands before them, towering over their shattered illusions. The ground beneath them has given way, and they are scrambling, desperate for something solid to hold on to. But there is nothing left. The falsehood that kept them warm, that convinced them they could laugh their way out of consequences, has caved in, and they are suffocating. Their once smug certainty has turned into frantic confusion. Their laughter has died, replaced with a silence they can't escape. They wanted you to be wrong because if you were right, everything they built their identity on was a lie. Now they are forced to face the unbearable weight of that reality, and it is crushing them. You can see it in their eyes. Desperation, regret, fear. They are scrambling to rewrite history, to erase their mockery, to pretend they were always aware. But you remember. You remember their laughter, their insults, their arrogance. And now, they know you remember too. They thought denial could keep them safe forever. They believed if enough of them clung to a lie, it would somehow become truth. But truth is not a democracy. It does not bend, negotiate, or wait for permission. When it arrives, it smashes through delusion, reducing every falsehood to dust. And now they stand in the wreckage of their own making, forced to face what they never wanted to admit. Their laughter was never proof of their intelligence, but a desperate attempt to silence what scared them. Look at them now, pacing, fidgeting, struggling to explain away what they once swore would never happen. They are drowning in the very thing they laughed at. And you? You were never in that boat. While they reinforced their fantasy, you stood outside of it. While they laughed at your warnings, you prepared. Now, as their illusions crumble, you remain untouched, standing tall, watching as the dust settles. They know. That's why they avoid your eyes, whisper behind closed doors, and scramble to navigate the mess they created. Their arrogance has rotted into regret. Their confidence has decayed into fear. They thought they could laugh their way out of reality, but reality just gave them a lesson they will never forget. This isn't just defeat for them. It's humiliation. The kind that burns, that haunts, that keeps them awake at night, replaying every moment they dismissed you. But their regret is not your burden. You owe them nothing. Not explanations, not comfort, not a way out of the collapse they created. They built their house on lies. You were never in it. And now, as they stand in ruins, you stand on solid ground, unshaken, unbothered, victorious. Number 6. The mockery that once fueled them now chokes them. They built their confidence on laughter, believing it made them powerful, that if they ridiculed you enough, they could erase your truth. Every insult, every smirk, every sneer was their shield against the fear that you might be right. But now, that same laughter has wrapped around their throats like a noose because reality just knocked the air out of them. The louder they mocked, the harder they fall, and now they are falling fast. Their arrogance has collapsed, their words have dried up, and their smug confidence has turned to silence. Their eyes dart, their breath is shallow, because the very truth they ridiculed is now standing before them, undeniable, inescapable, and merciless. They thought their numbers made them strong, that as long as they laughed together they could keep the truth at bay. But truth doesn't care about their numbers. Reality doesn't negotiate. And now, it has crashed into them like a freight train, tearing apart the delusions they swore would never break. Look at them now, avoiding your gaze, unable to stand in your presence because you are a reminder of their own foolishness. Every word they spat at you, every joke they made, is now suffocating them. They thought they were writing your downfall, but instead they were carving their own gravestone. History does not remember the ones who mocked. It remembers the ones who endured. Tesla was called mad until his visions powered the modern world. Galileo was ridiculed, but the stars did not change. Harriet Tubman was dismissed as a fool, yet she led her people to freedom. The blind always laugh, until the truth shatters their illusion. Now their laughter is dead, replaced with the very fear they swore they'd never feel. They want to rewrite history, pretend they never doubted you. But you remember. Every scoff, every eye roll, every moment they turned your truth into a joke. And now that joke is on them. Reality has crushed their arrogance into dust. Their doubt, their laughter, their insults, all of it meant nothing. Because truth was never a punchline. It was a wrecking ball, and it has leveled everything they built on lies. And you are still here, unshaken, unbothered, unbreakable. They thought they had the power. Now they are the ones trembling. Their mockery was never proof that you were wrong. It was proof that they were weak. And now that weakness has swallowed them whole. They will try to pretend, to justify, to rewrite their arrogance into wisdom. But no excuse will erase the simple, brutal fact. You were right, and they were fools. Number 7. The chosen cannot be mocked, only feared. You were never the joke, you were the warning. They spent so much energy laughing, ridiculing, and trying to break you down because it was the only way to convince themselves you weren't a threat. But now their laughter has rotted into silence. The smirks are gone, replaced with something colder, heavier. Fear. You were never the fool, never lost in delusions. You were the presence they couldn't explain, the force that unsettled them without saying a word. Even in their loudest moments of mockery, they knew you were different. That's what scared them. They tried to box you in, to mold you into something they could control, but you were never meant to fit. You were never meant to blend in, follow blindly, or accept their illusions. You were designed to break the mold, and that made you dangerous. Look at them now. Uncertain, uneasy, whispering in hushed voices. They don't mock you anymore. They watch you. Their eyes track your every move. Their silence is laced with tension, because the one they laughed at is still standing while their world crumbles to ash. You are living proof that they were wrong. Mockery was never about you, it was about them. Their fear, their insecurities, their desperate need to feel safe in ignorance. They thought laughter would erase the doubt creeping into their minds, that ridicule would silence the voice whispering, "What if they're right?" But truth lingers. No matter how tightly they shut their eyes, it never fades. And now, as their illusions collapse, they remember every word you spoke, every warning they dismissed. The chosen have never been welcomed. They have been ridiculed, demonized, cast out. Jesus was crucified for a truth too powerful for the weak to accept. Socrates was poisoned for questioning the foundation of falsehood. Malcolm X was assassinated for revealing a reality too raw to bear. The world has always tried to destroy those who see through the veil, because nothing terrifies the blind more than the one who refuses to close their eyes. Yet, the chosen always rise. The voices they silenced become the echoes that never fade. And you? You are part of that legacy. They wanted you to doubt yourself, to shrink, to collapse under rejection. But you didn't. And now, they are forced to watch you thrive. It sickens them because nothing infuriates a liar more than someone who cannot be deceived. Nothing terrifies a weak soul more than someone who refuses to submit. Nothing shatters the fragile minds of the masses more than someone who does not need their validation to exist. And that's why they fear you. Because you never needed them. But somehow, they need you. They will never say it. They will never admit it. But their actions betray them. Watch how they shift when you enter the room, how their words stumble, how the air thickens when you speak. They feel it, even if they don't understand it. That unease is recognition. That hesitation is their subconscious admitting what their pride never will. You were never the joke, you were the warning, so let them tremble. Let them struggle to process the truth. Let them sit in the wreckage of their own arrogance while you stand untouched. You owe them nothing. No explanations, no comfort. They made their choice when they laughed. Now they can live with the consequences, because the days of mockery are over. The days of fear have begun. Number 9. They can't laugh anymore, because now they know you were right. Laughter was their last defense, their desperate attempt to shield themselves from reality. Every insult, every eye roll, every dismissive chuckle wasn't about you. It was about their fear. Because if they ever stopped laughing long enough to consider your words, they would have to face the truth. Their entire world was built on lies. Now their illusion has collapsed, and all that remains is the wreckage of their own ignorance. Do you see them? Mouths shut, eyes wide, hands trembling. No comebacks, no excuses, no escape. The very thing they mocked has risen, unshaken, undeniable, unstoppable. They thought their numbers could override truth, that repeating their lies would make them real. But truth is not a democracy. It does not bend to their opinions. Now their silence is their confession. It screams louder than their laughter ever did. And the worst part? They know that you know. That's why they avoid your gaze, shuffle their feet, change the subject. They don't want to admit they stood on the wrong side of history. This cycle has played out before. They laughed at Copernicus before accepting the earth revolved around the sun. They mocked Tesla before his visions powered the world. They always ridicule those who see beyond the veil, until it's too late. But don't expect an apology. Weak minds never do. Instead, they will pretend, rewrite history, convince themselves they always had doubts. They will do anything except admit they were wrong. And you? You never needed their validation. You carried the truth even when it cost you everything. You endured their rejection, their insults, their isolation, and now you stand victorious while they drown in the wreckage of their own arrogance. Let them sit in silence. Let them wrestle with their regret. Let them struggle with the fact that the one they mocked is the one still standing. This is their reckoning, their consequence. You were never the fool. You were always ahead. And now, they're finally catching up. Too little, too late. Number 10. Let them choke on their regret. You owe them nothing. Regret is a chain forged by cowardice, and now they wear it. They threw stones at you, mocked you, ridiculed you, desperate to convince themselves you were the fool. But now those same stones have fallen back on their own heads, crushing them under the weight of their own arrogance. And you stand untouched. Now they scramble to rewrite history. I always had a feeling this would happen. I never really doubted you. Lies, pathetic attempts to erase their shame. But you remember. Every insult, every dismissal, every time they tried to make you question yourself. Their laughter has curdled into silence. Let them choke on it. Their regret is not yours to carry. You owe them nothing. They made their choice when they spat in your face. Now they live with it. And make no mistake, they are living with it. Their regret haunts them, lingers in the spaces where their arrogance once stood. They cannot escape it. Now they see you not as the fool they ridiculed, but as the force they were too blind to recognize. But you walk forward unshaken, unchained, unbothered. Their regret does not slow your steps. Their guilt does not rewrite your story. Their ignorance has collapsed, and you stand unbroken. A fool can build a fortress of lies, but truth is always the battering ram that reduces it to dust. They fought so hard to keep the illusion alive, believing their arrogance could shield them from reality. But reality does not disappear, and now it has crushed everything they once believed in. Look at the ruins around them. Their confidence shattered, their arrogance burned to ashes, their certainty crumbled to nothing. The same voices that once hurled insults at you are now silent. The same people who dismissed you now avoid your gaze, because they know. They wasted their breath fighting something they were never strong enough to stop. They spent all their energy trying to break you, twist your mind into doubting what you always knew to be true. But you were never one of them. You were never meant to crumble under the weight of their ignorance. While they played games with denial, you stood tall. And now, as their illusions collapse, you stand above the wreckage, untouched. That's what haunts them most. That's what keeps them awake at night, replaying every moment they laughed at you. They wanted to see you fall, broken and defeated. Instead, they are the ones drowning, and you are the one rising. Make no mistake, this is the price of ignorance. This is the cost of denying reality. They lost this war before it even began. And you? You never even had to fight. All you had to do was stand firm. And now, as they scramble through the ruins of their own foolishness, gasping for something to hold on to, you walk forward, head high, spirit unshaken, power undeniable. You have already won. That's all for today. Dear Father, I pray for the growth of my faith. Help me trust you even when physical evidence is lacking. Let me believe in your perpetual presence, knowing you will never harm me. I understand that your thoughts for me are thoughts of prosperity and not harm to give me a good future. Thank you, gracious and eternal Father, for always listening to my voice. I offer up this prayer to you in the name of Jesus. Amen. Thank you, Jesus, for your love and provision. I am grateful for your presence in my life and the abundance you bring. If this video resonated with you, please like, subscribe to the channel, and share it with those who need to hear this message. Leave a comment below about your journey and how you are preparing for your own triumphant return. If you'd like to support our work, please consider contributing through Buy Me a Coffee. This helps us continually improve our content to offer you the best. The link to Buy Me a Coffee is in the description. No gift is too small. Whether it's a penny, a prayer, or a share, your generosity helps spread God's word and brings hope to others. Don't stop here. Watch our next video for powerful revelations about the signs that reveal you are the chosen one. We've enjoyed following this spiritual journey with you. Thank you for staying with us until the end. Keep shining brightly and embrace your destiny with courage. See you next time. Blessings to all the beautiful souls from the Enlighten wisdom.